functions workshop. And when you get into the second part of John's book, you'll see he connects the tools to functions. Think about like the tools as things you have control over, things you can sharpen up, things you can use. Tools, I guess you could say. So that's why John calls them tools.
I could understand that.
Yeah.
I've asked people to use different sets of tools because sometimes at work, the ones that are working, like the ones that they're working with, aren't working for them. So I've referred to them like, listen, whatever tool you think you got working for yourself, you got to change it.
Yeah, I hear you, man, for sure. Yep.
But I agree that we all have tools,
Yeah, we have access to the same tools. That is true. Yeah, we're humans. How we pick them up, how we use them to our own unique way. That's true in the restaurant business and the law business and on the basketball court.
Yep. It's interesting too. How does hypnosis differ or fall into like what you're talking about?
It's a form of programming. Yeah, it's just another form of programming. A difference, and there are probably several, but a difference is the especially if it's done with a third party, it's that you're introducing thought from a third party, and it's not kind of neutral on whether I can't say that's good or that's bad. It's a third party thought. And I know that the current version of that I see is in the form of what people here call, I don't know if they call it everywhere, maybe, NLP, standing for neuro-linguistic programming, which I've always assumed is kind of the modern version of hypnosis, where you work with some NLP practitioner that's got some certificate hanging on his or her wall. And I don't have personal experience with it, although I have a lot of experience with programming. So I know about depth in terms of like that upside down pyramid that Terry posts on our patio chats every now and again. It's like, yeah, okay. Why don't we work at the bottom level of that pyramid at the operating system? Does NLP work down there? I don't know. I'm not sure. I doubt it. I don't think so. But that's not to say that hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming doesn't result in behavioral changes. I hear, or that it does.
Yeah, I found it interesting that I guess hypnosis works, and again, I don't remember which level, beta, theta, whatever. And then you were talking about reprogramming at these levels. I just couldn't connect the two because I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Here's the way that I remember John teaching it to me. This goes back now a bunch of years ago. So this upside down pyramid goes hand in hand with another brainwave slide that we have somewhere here, and maybe Terry will grab it and put it up here. But take a look at this first for a second and see how at the bottom level self-meta programs, which we've been calling what you believe is real, they work upwards on your meta programs, and the meta programs work on the programs, and the programs work on the logical subroutines. like a computer. Now, if we can find that other chart, the one with the brain waves, let's see. Terry's probably working behind the scenes really quickly now to find it, and she will. Because you got to know Terry. She's freaking A at doing this. um,
Well, I can say something about that. Ralph,
please.
the
Yep.
self-meta programs, or the triangle down the bottom, which is beliefs, can only work on the next stage up. So you can't have a permanent change from this level, which is the theta level. Okay? That's the level of emotions or meta programs that we talked about the other day.
Mm-hmm.
So here isn't going to solve your problem. The problem needs to be here, which is in the delta level, which is where the tank gives you some practice in accessing. So it's limited amount of change can occur here, and it won't be a permanent one at that.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna work on a computer or a biocomputer, handy to work at the level that drives every other reaction and behavior on up. Although Lilly said, John Lilly and John Worthington, and says it in the Office of Shaman, I think he does at least, at this lowest self-meta program level, those work not only directly, but think about only on the meta programs, only. And in turn, meta programs work only on programs, and programs in turn work only on logic. Okay.
And so you're in the delta. What state are you in? Like almost sleep? Because it says it's deep, dreamless sleep.
Yep.
So are you awake, or is this just like something you're sleeping?
Well, I'm gonna see if John will come on at any point, but I think of delta as both dreamless and dream sleep. I know that when I'm in a float tank,
Mm-hmm.
there's an awareness down there that I have.
So floating can get you to this delta level in your
Oh
brain.
yeah. Oh yeah. You go down with a lot of horsepower or freed up circuitry. I've always considered I've thought about the question since I've been floating. It's like, all right, so what's the difference between floating and sleep? Because you go down, you have this rhythm cycle of going from a beta down to a delta even when you sleep. But from I don't know how many, several hundred, 1,000 hours, who knows? I've been in the tank a lot in 10 years. There is something that is different about it. Hey Ken, do you sleep in a float tank? Well, yeah, you do, but you go down with a ton more horsepower, freed up circuitry down there.
Well, just being in the office, you're in delta.
Say it again, Elise.
Being in a tank office over a period of time,
Right.
at the desk, cleaning the tank, that is your predominant brainwave after a period of time.
Yeah. I'm
But
pretty sure that being in a law firm for me is being in Delta, or going out for a jog, or riding a bicycle. Hold on a second. I'm going to mute and answer Maria that's calling me, Ralph. Be right back.
Go ahead. The big boss is talking to him now.
Okay. Done.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
I was.
But this question started as the difference between programming, as we've been talking about it, and hypnosis.
Yeah.
And I think John's on now, but before he came on, we had said that that hypnosis, as I understand it, although I use that word kind of loosely because I've never studied hypnosis or neurolinguistic programming, but it does seem to me to be done at a level that is not down at the Delta level. I don't know where I got this from, but I think I heard it from John or someone that at least traditional. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
More to the point. I'm sorry, I can't do video. My internet.
That's all right.
Well, it's a long story. Electricity's out on one phase, so anyway, here comes. Look, hypnosis is from somebody else, and programming isn't.
Yep.
I mean, if you really want to play with hypnosis and program somebody else, go ahead and go for it. I'm not interested, thanks. I don't need that kind of responsibility. But people do it, I guess.
This guy I was talking to was, he said that as I was describing, what we're talking about, he was telling me that he's seen, like, himself couldn't get hypnotized. But he says that the early childhood memories and hypnotism, like the guy that went under started chirping about when he was a little kid, and
you can drive people down to that. It's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, who cares? That you can do that. Can you do it for yourself? If you can't, and can you talk about it? If you can't, then what the hell are you talking about? Oh, look, I saw a show on TV once that said, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, hold that thought for a second, John and Ralph, because this is, the I can't be hypnotized thing. To me, I don't see any difference between I can't be hypnotized and I can't be programmed. Or I can say it this way. I don't see any difference between I can't be hypnotized and you can't affect me with your what you say. Or maybe, how about this one? I can't be hypnotized. Wait a second. Do you ever get marketed? Do you go into Best Buy and see where they place the big TV? Do you see where they place the magazines and the candy on the way out of the grocery store? Do you think you're not being hypnotized there?
You mean have you ever seen a close up of the party scene of a beer? A complete still of a party scene in a beer commercial.
I don't. I mean, I know that in our program theory class, Ralph, there are images and things there that are as so deliberately put there.
Yeah, they're blatant. And
and
it's like, yes, we're hypnotized by it, but not where you think we're hypnotized. It's not somebody swinging their watch back and forth. Nobody even has those damn watches anymore. that don't do it.
Yep.
It does in the movies, but that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just the recollection, the recall of the memory. It's trying to think back to when, like John, you're saying, when you're just about walking. I mean, when are you just about walking? 2 or 3? That's it's hard to kind of think about what.
Yeah, because it isn't. But do this. Okay. What room did you live in? Did you live with mom? Did you sleep with mom and dad, or did you sleep in your crib?
No, my crib.
See, you don't remember, huh? Oh, okay, that's too bad.
I don't. No, I'm just saying. But that's because you know what they've told me. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and
and you remember. And you remember. Here's another one. Did you learn to say "mama"?
I don't know.
Do you say it? Do you say it now?
I mean, I would have to ask my mom. You know what I mean?
Of course,
Did I
you
say
learn to
mom
say
like that?
"mom," dummy. And you say it now because where did you learn back then?
Yeah.
That's the first thing they say. Mama, 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 mama. And every baby learns to say "mama" before anything because the mamas make damn sure they do. Then they say, "Oh yeah, poppy, poppy, poppy." Yeah. Okay, got it. Pop. The first one to learn is "mama."
Yeah. But then it's like thinking about the memories. Like I'm thinking about my memories, and I remember a memory of like my mom being harassed kind of at a store. I don't remember exactly where we're at, but I remember that she didn't speak English. And because I think I started understanding English and I spoke Italian, when we were leaving a store, what I believe was a manager had told her shut up, you guinea, or get out of here, you guinea. And my mom thought that he was saying goodbye and was like, oh, in Italian, thank you, goodbye. And I wanted to tell her, like, Mom, no, like that guy's fucking saying something bad to us. Like,
Yeah.
don't be pleasant to him. But I don't know. I remember I really couldn't talk.
Right.
So that's I'm thinking is I don't know how old I was, but I was in my
Not
mom's
very
arms.
old, were you?
I don't
See,
know.
it doesn't. See, here's the thing. It doesn't make any freaking difference because your memory is way back there, and you remember that thing happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It had an effect on you. Still having an effect. Whatever effect it had then is still having an effect on you. It's been modified a bunches of times. You bet. But still has that effect.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's the way it is.
But I can't pinpoint what effect it's having on me and what it's connecting to rewrite.
Yeah. Okay. We don't worry about it. Sometimes the best way to remember something like that is just to let it go for a little bit, and then when it comes back around, you're going to say, "Oh shit, yeah." Because see, you're trying to think about this consciously. It's not a conscious thought, Ralph. I know that's going to be a bitch for you to understand at this point, but it's a fact nonetheless. The thing that you're trying to remember ain't conscious. It was then, but it isn't now. And consciousness then was a way big different thing than what it is now. So memory from then are way different too, because it doesn't work the same way as it did then.
Why do you think this is a memory that like this is not the first time it's jogged in my head though? We're just talking about it. This is the one that keeps coming back to me.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's important to you somewhere or the other. I don't know where, Ralph. I mean, I'd have to sit down with you and go through it to be able to sort through it what it is. See what else happened to you that was down along the same lines. How you felt about it, all kinds of stuff with that. That requires you listening to you talk about it to the point that it gets complex enough for you to see it. Because I wasn't there, so I have no idea what it was for you. I can listen to you and I can guide you to talk about it. But that's best I can do for you guys. That I can do.
Yeah, my interest comes also too in like trying to get the float in next time the world turns back on, and trying to recall that memory, like trying to think about that one now. And you're right. What does it mean to me?
Well, the best way to do that is to let go of it and do whatever go do something in your garage, or go do something in the yard, or go tell Mama she loves you, or something. Something else. Just break in off with it for a
while. The brain is such a like these conversations have been getting me to think like it's at a different level, and these programs.
Ken's going to explain that to you right now. I can tell.
Yeah, but before I do, what was it you said the other night? We didn't. It was a few nights ago now. I think you came on and said something surprised you, or I don't remember what it was. Do you? Am I jogging your memory here, Ralph?
Something surprised me?
Yeah, it was something that John did surprised you. I forget the context even, but I didn't pick it up and ask you what it was about. I think you came on and said something like, I was thinking about the night before, and all right, well.
Wow. You know what I remember surprised me is that John helped like these guys one after another kind of get it. He stayed patient. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I thought that he was going to be firmer, and it surprised me that he kind of guided them through what George and the other guy.
Yeah. 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 He has given me new ways of thinking about patience in terms of you've waited 7 years to say that thing to me. 7 fucking years to say that, and the answer sometimes is yep. That's been yep.
No.
Uh,
And then it's got to be in some way frustrating when if that's if like I would imagine like I'm reading his book, right? So I'm getting to the chapter of Bob, and Bob is a little hard-headed. I would imagine a lot of people are hard-headed.
nah.
You don't need to kind of get this going.
Yeah.
And he come down to it, we're all versions of Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. So far the three people that and I don't know this guy, Chris. I'm not sure who he is, but he seems like a version of Bob. And I guess we're all kind of hard-headed when it comes down to do we want to let go or do we want to be real?
Yeah. For sure. I I didn't live with John through the period that he developed these skills, but I did live a good part of his life through the period where he was passing this knowledge on to the likes of me and Elise and Terry and Jenny and Chris, and Paul and all of them. And yeah, I think that it's come for all of us with a high degree of hard-headedness, stubbornness. But like the way that like I think about it, like first thing is you can change anytime you want. Just change it. But where's the motivation come from? Like for me, I had to bash my face in the ground, so to speak, on some things before that's probably something that I don't want to do anymore. Because before bashing my face on it, I was running the same programs, and anytime John would poke at those self-meta programs, I basically nod my head, lie, evade, walk away. You got me all wrong, not answer, not talk to him, all of the above, or any version of the above.
A lot of friends and a lot of money along the way.
Yeah.
Talk about learning it the hard way. Some people insist.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, Ralph, but I think this is my working theory here. And I've got some basis to support it, that as more people pick these tools up, it just gets easier.
Yeah.
And if it's just John doing it, it's a fucking bitch of a battle.
Yeah, sure.
So, because then you're like, the single circus master in the middle of a circus with, a bunch of loose animals.
With a herd of cats.
Herding cats. But then, somebody, a few, stands by your side because they pick up the tools and they say, wow, this is useful. I can be deliberate about the things that I used to get thrown around with. And then you got mass, you got gravity, so to speak. You've got additional energy then to get it done.
You're able to track it too, where you can see where it's going for people and say, no. We're talking about this over here.
Yeah.
You can't go skittering off into other ideas. Come on back here. Let's stay here and think about this. And it helps John to herd the cats.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm telling you, I definitely think there's logic to this. I mean, I know I'm a logical guy. I'm a practical guy at that. So thinking about how this works, it is correct. It takes training, just like anything else. And I think that the practicality comes in like, now I'm seeing the point of view of like from a business standpoint, I think that somebody who needs coaching they need this because they need to know what their staff is thinking, how they're thinking. If not, the whole team coming together so the team can communicate a little bit better.
Yeah.
And
Ralph, there's this whole thing called an MBO where you get all the people in your business together and you go through that, and it's a program for business. I think you would love that.
Well,
Like a duck to water for that.
Yep.
yeah, I remember Ken explained that a little bit to me.
Yeah, I did several of them. They were eye-opening. The businesses are still run by programs. They're still, as Paul Grenshi is fond of saying, just because you haven't taken the time to sit down and be deliberate and write a business plan called an MBO doesn't mean that you don't have the features of it operational in the business, although the results of that might not be to your liking.
I mean, listen, I have an MBO because it's a one-liner, and then in company-wide, I have like 4 things that support that. And it's not done every year because it's repetitive because I'm a small business, but it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd be interested in seeing a different point of view now. You know, that does it come up in the Office of Shaman too, or that's something separate?
It does come up. You'll read it, I think, just maybe briefly in chapter 1, which is introducing programming. They just go through the 11 steps of a rewrite, and then John points out in the book that that's not the only kind of program. There's, there are business programs that you can write, and that's where he talks a little bit about the MBO.
And the MBO is for every person in the whole business, not just for you, Ralph. It's for every employee and you.
Yeah, but why does it have to? At least, can I just bring it down like Moses did from the hills and say, I hereby give you your MBO, motherfuckers. Get on with it.
The whole team.
These are the 47 commandments. So
Right.
I'll tell you, time is the valuable thing here, because it's like listening to you guys now for 30 days or plus. You've been doing this. I feel like that's where the explanation comes in. Whereas somebody just visiting you, they need that much time. You know, it's like.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm going to hug your neck and dance at your next 3 weddings, not just your next one. Okay. I'll set it across. I'll set it up on my calendar right now.
Go on, John. Say what Ralph just said, but in your words, so that it make sure that I got it. This communication.
Well, what Ralph is saying is he's saying, it takes a while to get this across. You can't do it sitting in front of people for 15 freaking minutes. You got to put them in a class. You got to sit them down and say, okay, now slow down long enough here. I need your attention for the next 2 days. If in 2 days you can get it said, but you can't get it said in 15 minutes. It won't ever happen. There's not enough time.
Yeah.
Nobody can process an abstraction of this size in that length of time.
Same reason why you read the book in sips. Your brain has to have time to click through what you read.
Yeah, and I think that works in a lot of things in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This new way of thinking, if you just jump on things, I mean, it's too fast. It's almost like you got to kind of hear something and then wait.
Yeah, let it sink in.
Well, what's happening, Ralph, is that the other than conscious thinking is processing it, and there are programs that have a lot of programming weight.
Right, and the waste is what we're trying to get rid of. No,
they weigh a lot. They have a gravitational pull because of the weight of the programs. In other words, let's say somebody that worships their mom. Okay, that mom program has a lot of weight in that person's life. Is it good or bad? No, neither one. It's just that program has a lot of weight in their life. That's all. That's what it means.
It just
Some
depends
people
which.
are so into driving fast. That's a lot of weight in their life. There are a lot of people that they go hunting. That's a lot of weight in their life. So what?
Mhm.
Unless it takes it, unless it takes control over them a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. There are people who think that bowling is important. You know, it's okay with me, but I don't think it's important.
Yeah.
Come on now.
If I lived in Florida, I'd have to swear allegiance to wrestling or something. You know, but
We said that we wouldn't be doing a confrontational program, and here you go now. How am I going to put this up on Facebook?
And another interesting thing is like how some people have stronger sets of programs. Because, you know, as I talk to different people about this, you know, it's fresh in my mind. I noticed that some people I talk to have stronger sets of programs and other ones weaker, per se. You know what I mean? That are more subject to, you know.
Okay, here, apply this formula to it. Excitation causes interlock, and you'll get your answer.
What does that mean?
All right. I'll
Yep.
I remember I have a memory of right around the time that my mom and dad were getting divorced. We were in my grandmother's apartment, and they lived in the same in the same building in Flushing, Queens. And I don't know why we were in my grandmother's, but somehow I think like shit was going down, and she was like wanted me and my brother Steve out of the apartment that my mom and dad were fighting in. And then I remember the argument somehow filtered or spilled over into my grandmother's apartment, where my memory is that my mom had a knife and threatened my dad. Pretty exciting, but not in the sense that like, hey, that's exciting. That was memorable. That excitation causing me to interlock with that event. You want to talk about a programmatic event, you know, writing something, what'd you call it? Deep or big? I forgot the word that you used.
Intense.
Intense. Oh yeah. That was, you know, that was one.
I called them stronger or weaker, but the intensity is a better word to probably use for that.
Yeah. There was an excitation, that event. I interlocked with it, and I wrote code. And I can't tell you, Ralph, what I ate for dinner last night. Apparently, there was not much. I should say this quietly because in case Maria. There was not much excitation about it.
Ken, you know, that can be a really good thing. I've been at meals where the expectation was so high that they were unforgettable, but not because they tasted so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you should try doing the cooking, Ken.
That's true. That's that boy. That's. I mean, if Maria could hear you right now, that's what.
Bust out some of that Brooklyn pastrami. You know what I'm saying? Something.
Yeah. That's right.
You should go blow her mind, Ken. Offer to cook tomorrow night.
That's right.
Yeah, if you don't like what you're having, you can do it yourself.
Yeah. I think I'm going to surprise you with an apple pie in the morning. Inside joke, Ralph.
A big old fluffy apple pie.
Yeah.
Just as cute as Christmas.
But people that are more well put together, I feel, have stronger programming. You know what I mean? Than people that are trying to put it together. You know, and it just so happens that if you're more well put together, you're more successful. And it's funny to hear with people that are, you know, of stronger success in, you know, in business, how their logic is, how some of it is already, you know, a guy who's well-to-do doesn't automatically think true and false already. You know what I mean? He always puts himself in the other person's shoes, which is interesting.
Ralph, I was married to a very successful man. he was way up in AT&T, really high level. And he still had his black and white thinking. And he still had, he always said things like, life sucks, then you die. Now, that wasn't probably the most beneficial program for Ian. And he's, he was very ill and he's not well at this point in his life. He's only a year older than I am. And his health is horrible now. But that may or may not, but I think it is an accumulation of his thought process. He had plenty of money. There were Porsches in the garage. There were big houses with 4 and 5 bedrooms. He could go on vacation anywhere he wanted in the world. But yet, his programming had faults in it. So it's money and success aren't necessarily a marker of a healthy a mind that's operating on every level.
Okay. Yes.
Do you think he could have like accepted, this type of thinking, or it's just completely blocked out? He can't. Like, why not?
I never saw him be able to. He was brilliant, but no, his high IQ didn't get him through these kinds of things. And it may be that never anyone but me once in a while talked to him straight up how I saw things, and he didn't have any other people who said it to him. He had a lot of bootlickers around him that wouldn't say boo to him. So, at the top is not necessarily an optimum position.
It's lonely at the top. I agree, but you have to be a good communicator in some ways. I almost feel like it's like he was probably doing good communications in one way, and then in his own head, not so good.
I think you'd have to ask the people who worked for him to know. Because they're the ones who received communication from him. You have to, if you asked him, he'd say he was.
And you have to agree, because if he made high level, you have to be able to say the right things to the right people, and get results.
Yeah, to an extent, you do. I'm not saying that he didn't earn success. He didn't have much growing up, and he worked real hard to get to where he was. And there's some things he understood really well, and he put that to use too. But I'm just saying, he wasn't a happy person. It didn't bring him some of the things that, well, you might say, made for a rich life. Not rich monetarily, but abundance.
Do you think it stemmed from something from his childhood? Programming from...
Absolutely, no, it did.
Yeah, Ralph, in general, any of your beliefs in real that haven't been re-examined after you understand these ideas, they can all have room for improvement. To Elise's point, he might have been able to generate an income, right? But the rest of his existence was probably a little bit barren because he was never able to look at these things that needed adjustment.
Yeah. I guess when you're asphyxiated on you're good on one thing and it makes money, you continue on doing it. That the struggle's real. No, it's hard to kind of get off track too.
Well, he could use it as an evasion too, and say, "See, I'm successful. I don't have to look at anything other than this."
Yeah, it's just hard to say. Let me put success aside, because you eat with success. You know what I mean? It's like we all kind of muscle through whatever we got to do. You know what I mean? I'm sure Ken would not like to be reading contracts and stuff like whatever, but he's got to do it. Just like we all got to do our jobs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, if it puts food on the table, it's hard to kind of put it on the side and really dissect what we think.
Yeah. Let's say it this way: outside of this prism or box of success and failure, and not, um, functionality or being deliberate. Damn, that's a freaking skill. That is like, it, let's start this way, because it's like when we're kids, it's like a petri dish kind of environment. We get, like it or not, a programmatic data dump from our parents. There's a lot of luck of the draw in there. I'm fairly certain, without even knowing your story, Ralph, that you did pretty good in that respect, in terms of getting some good, solid programming that you use now functionally to get along in business, especially when you compare it to, let's just say, other people that might do something similar to what you do. And, in the restaurant business, that much I know that about you. But yet, okay, you got luckier than some. Who cares? Can you be deliberate about it? That's what I think Paul and Elise are talking about. That's where even people who were quote unquote successful, they got lucky. But as Paul says, any of those beliefs in real, those self-meta programs, could at least potentially function more efficiently or better to whatever it is that you're trying to get to. But to get there, to do that, you have to have a certain skill set, a certain tool. And maybe that's a decent segue into that slide that Terry had posted up before about self-meta programmer. Because it's like, maybe Paul can help out in this one. What the hell is the self-meta programmer, Paul? And what does that do? And why do we talk about this? And what's that? Self-meta programmer? Huh?
Well, isn't that the voice that I talk to myself with, Ken? No? You making fun of me?
There is somebody we talk to, though. You can't deny that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
That's not the self-meta programmer. That's just consciousness. That's just logic. That's the part of us that we use to reprogram all the little things that hurt our feelings and make us feel justified, and all the little things that we don't want to adjust in ourselves.
Well, Terry, if you could put that back up, I'll read it, and then okay, here it comes. Self-meta programmer, a self-meta program, a special meta program, which involves the self-programming aspects of the computer, which creates new programs, revises old programs, and reorganizes programs and meta programs. That just sounds like exactly that deliberate thing. Creates new programs, really. Revises old ones? Reorganizes programs and meta programs? That would be something that I think, regardless of how you describe someone's success or station in life or what they do, would be at least a consideration for them as to whether they'd like to have that deliberate kind of control. This entity works only directly on meta programs, not the programs themselves. And then, as we said earlier, meta programs work on each program and the detailed instructions therein. Is that what you're talking about, Paul, when you say that any belief in real could be examined and at least potentially made more functional to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish?
Absolutely. It's definitely what I was talking about. And for Ralph, this ties in directly with floating, because when you float and you remove all those distractions, one of the effects is, it's possible at least, for the self-meta programmer to become more active. And once you get a look at what the self-meta programmer is and does, much like we've been saying, the word isn't the thing, all of a sudden you get this aha about what's been going on in your mind that you weren't paying attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how I definitely want to tie in some, some self-meta programming when it comes down to the floating aspect of it, and Steve, I know it's only each person can decide what they want to change about themselves, whether it be a feeling, a something. So it's hard to recognize what it is and how to change it.
It really can't be done until it's done, Ralph. That's the problem. This is not something that you can academically approach. I mean, don't take me wrong about it. It's not that you can't you're going to academically approach it. Everybody is. I mean, we do that. We're people, okay? And so we're going to do that thing. There's no doubt about it. We're gonna. But the thing is that even though we do that, it doesn't mean necessarily that we can't. Well, let's say that we can't. That there's only just that one way that we can go at the thing. I mean, there's other things we can do. We don't have to be stuck with a certain modality, I don't think.
By modality, you mean way of going at something, way of behaving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a law anywhere that says, okay, the only way that you can approach this is the way I say. I mean, that would be silliness to the nth degree, and so I don't think that serves anybody or anything. I really don't. However, I do think that it's possible for us to start to examine things from a standpoint of saying, okay, well, let me think about how I could apply this to my life. That I think we can do okay. I don't think that costs anything, really. Maybe a little bit. I don't think much, though. I just don't see how it does.
No, I mean, again, that's justified because nobody knows it all, and I think everybody has that question of like, what's the purpose of my life, maybe, and where's my brain, and you know what I mean, like, why, you know what I'm saying, like all these, everybody's got different questions. And that's
sure.
That's what.
But see, for me, that it's like, oh, okay, cool. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? I mean, that's kind of how I think about it. Well, if I have that question or anybody has that question, well, it's a good question because somebody's asking it, right? Now, can there be other questions asked? Oh, I'm sure there can be. Do I give a damn, though, is the question. And the answer to that one is not really. I just really don't care, because once it is that I get to the place where I can say, okay, look, I have to deal with what I have to deal with. I have to deal with the reality that I see. Once I get to there, then what I have to do after that has everything in the world to do with only being aware of how it is that I'm going to, well, shall we say, how it is that I'm going to be okay with me. Am I okay with me by saying, okay, I don't want to look at any of the things that are real in my life? Or am I okay with me by saying, okay, I'll look at some things, but I don't want to look at these bad things because if these bad things make me feel bad. I don't see how that's going to pay anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's like perspective. It's like, all right, so somebody from your generation has a certain perspective and can rationalize, I think, with certain things a certain way. And like, whereas like I hear the younger guys, George and Jesse, they gotta be, I know they're younger than you. They're definitely gotta be younger than me, at least in their conversation. I think their perspective is different in way. You know what I mean? Like people that are older.
Okay, Ralph, look, I can give you that point. I can give you 50 of those points. But here's the bottom line about it. No matter how many points I give away on it, the bottom line is that it doesn't really change anything for either of them. They may have a different perspective till the cows come home, which is fine. I'm for different perspectives. I'm a different perspective pusher wisher. That's me, pushing different perspectives constantly. However, even though I want to push different perspectives, I know and know how I know that I simply cannot, I may not go wallowing around in this place where things aren't the way I think they are, or the things are the way that I want them to be, as opposed to how they actually are, for instance. Well, that's a silly place for me to live, or try to live even, because it can't pay me.
But you've accepted it. The light bulb went off for you. How did you get the light bulb to go off for George?
I have to be as patient as George is.
And George is very patient, because if I remember right, he's always like a little standoffish, you know?
Well, yeah, George has to have that piece in place, or he's not protected somehow, which is fine. But I mean, it's not fine, but it's not a bad thing that he does. It's just that he does that thing. That's all.
Right. So it's in some sense, if he swallows it and, so to speak, like accepts whatever, that's it. It becomes your new real, you know. And
well, I'll tell you what happened today, okay? So that you're with on this one. This will be easier on your Sunday then. Ready? Here comes. This morning I had a call with George and George's boss, and Jesse and Jesse's boss, and Jesse's manager, and we had what I refer to kindly as a word of prayer, or a come to Jesus meeting. You may have heard of those.
Yeah.
Where everything gets laid out on the table. No one's mad. It's just like, okay, what the fuck is this? Explain it to me. And when I laid it out and said, okay, this is the only way this can happen. This is the only way it can happen for me. This is the only way it can happen for you. This is the only place the deal's going to live. What happened was, all of a sudden, for the first time in 30 days, both George and Jesse decided to start talking to me about things.
yeah,
Now, what was it? Because they were being forced to talk to me about it? Maybe. Was I nice about forcing them into it? Nope, I wasn't. Do I give a fuck whether they liked it or not? Not a twit. And here are the reasons for those things in order. To begin with, I don't think it's necessary for either of those two fellows to have to suffer with being guilty for who they are. I don't think that's a good thing for them. I think that what happens is it keeps them from being who they are and earning the money that they should be earning and so forth. And so if I can alleviate that, I can say, okay, look, boys, stop doing that. Just for the next 2 weeks, you're going to think about the way I want you to think about it, please. Not because I'm right, because at the end of the 2 weeks, you're going to think about how you want to anyway. But if I can get you to change that just a little bit, then I'm way ahead of the game, and so are you, right? And they say, yeah, well, yeah. But the thing is they have to actually show that to themselves. And when they do that, then the world changes for them somehow or the other. Now, that change in the world is what they came for. That's what they want. They want to be able to face the world without feeling guilty about being who they are. I think that's a fair thing for them to want. I don't see any problem with that particularly. Not particularly. I just don't. I just don't think it's a problem. Now, if I could convince them that it wasn't a problem, I'd be really happy. But that's the name of the game right there. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's all of it.
yeah. And like, these guys are there quarantining with you. I think for the person walking by the office, the float center, and to have accepted this and take this, this type of therapy, it just you have to trust somebody. It takes time to, you know what I mean?
Yes, there has to be a relationship that goes on from morning to night with that one. There does. It's just something that requires a trust like you just cannot believe, really. And it does. It requires that level of trusting and trustworthiness. Without it, nothing can happen. I mean, nothing at all. And it's tough on you. It's tough on somebody. Don't understand. It's not like I don't get it. I do. I get it pretty well.
Yeah.
That isn't the problem. The problem is that when I'm sitting here looking at something that somebody's doing, and I'm saying, okay, look, guys, you're doing this thing here, and they're saying, oh no, that's not what you're looking at. Isn't what I'm really doing. It's like, well, dudes and dudettes or whoever's here. Yeah, you are. You're doing that thing, whatever that is right now. What is that? Don't do that to yourself, please. They can complain about it if they want. I don't mind. In fact, Christ, I'd complain about it if I were them, and they do. So I'm not mad at them that they complain. It's okay. What I get pissed off about is when they complain about it and then pretend as though that it's not really happening. That's not okay. If it's really happening, then it's really happening. What's to be mad about with that? But for the love of Christ, tell me where you are. Tell me what's going on for you. I can deal with that. I don't have any trouble with that. But if you're going to lie to me about stuff, then yeah, I got troubles. It's not that I don't like it. It's that you lied to me, and I don't know whether to shit or go blind now. See, that's where the issue comes in, right? I just don't know how to trust you now because you told me a story. Now I don't know where you are. Don't tell me the story. I'm fine.
I just think that there's a lot of people like those guys.
Dude, there's not. Don't think about it. There are. They are representative. They are the representative of the kind of people that live in the world. They are absolutely. Yep. And you know what? I'm the kind of people that they are looking for to say, okay, how the hell did you get there? Because I can actually explain it. Is it 100% correct? No, fuck no, Ralph. It's not correct. I'm not trying to tell everybody how to do any of this shit. I'm just saying, hey, look at this stuff, please. Just look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can look at it, then Jesus, we can do something for you with it. But if you can't look at it, then no, you're fucked.
I feel like that's a good core objective. Just fucking look at it,
Yeah,
because
really, huh? Just take a couple seconds and take a peek in there. Look under the hood there for a second. How hard can that be? What's going to go on? Nothing. Yeah. Are you going to feel better? Jesus, I hope you feel better because of doing that. Please.
Yeah, and somehow I don't know. You ask somebody about a memory, good or bad. I think it alleviates something for them, And
oh yes, it does. It makes life way easier for people, George. Ralph. It does. You're absolutely right. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you that's a fact.
Yeah, me too.
People take long, deep breaths and say, "Okay, thank you." They do it the first time? No, because they're frustrated as hell. And the reason why they're frustrated, they have reason to be frustrated. Trust me, they do. But the reason why it takes them so long is because they've tried so many things and they've wrestled with so many different things, and none of it has worked for them. And they're scared to death that this is going to be another thing that's going to work for them. They have reason to think that. I don't blame them. People have been beat up on some of this stuff. They have. It's been awful for them.
It's funny, as we're talking, I have an idea about this floating too. Somebody should get like a half hour, just like you're doing now, video chat with whoever's working the desk about whatever the fuck it is before you go float. You know what I mean? This way you got something going in.
I wish that was possible. I don't know if it is or not. Ralph, if you can figure out how to make that possible, you've done the world a great service. It's a bitch to figure out how to get that done. I'm not saying they can't do it.
Look, it could be as simple as at the float center. I'm imagining the 2-3 you guys are at the desk, and before people are coming in, it's a schedule thing. Boom, you get them on a half-hour chat. Because it's hard to get somebody in earlier because everybody, what the problem is with all this is that this has been like 30 days of us being home. So, hey, what else I got going on at 7:00? So I've been listening to you guys. But now it's like, yeah, I want to listen more. It's like once you're captured. But to get the regular person, to get them to, to dedicate more time, I feel like on a phone chat, you could get them. This is not like a coaching. This is, like you said, it's up to you. What the fuck? Look inside yourself.
Yeah.
You got it, Ralph. I think you're right about that. I do. Yeah. Anyway, are we out of time, Ken?
We got a couple more minutes. So what else you guys want to talk about?
I, I,
Oh,
I love how quickly the hour goes when it's lively.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Me too. We're recording audio for the Office of Shaman book, starting obviously at the beginning, and we've even signed up for a service. What's it called? Something cloud, I think, that we'll have, and I think that allows us to make the audio clips, the chapters, and things available to everyone, so they can. Oh, SunCloud book and audio will be available for streaming on SunCloud. I think that's going to make when we start next week the discussions nice, because people can then listen to the chapter or the half chapter, whatever it is, before the particular discussion, regardless of whether they've read it before or not. I'm always amazed that, having read the book 15 times, it's a different book in some respects every time that I read it.
Every time. Every time I read it.
Yeah.
Every time I read it, the same chapter again,
Yeah.
I get something else out of it
I
that
had,
I didn't see.
I had so many different highlight colors in the book, you wouldn't even believe it, and tabs, and it was
Yeah.
by the time I was through.
Yep.
Like, wow, almost every chapter has a gold means in it. I never noticed that before. Like,
Yep. Same.
on and on.
So Monday night. Okay. We good? Anybody got any questions before we say goodnight?
not me.
All right then. How about we meet again on Monday? Let's do that.
All
8
right.
p.m.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right. Good night,
All
guys.
right. Sounds good.
Have a good Sunday.
Later. Night.